group of passionate young women from Adelaide, Australia, here to talk to you about living with ME/CFS, which is Myalgic Encephalomyelitis, or more commonly known as chronic fatigue syndrome, and fibromyalgia, two poorly understood and heavily stigmatised conditions that primarily affect women.
Hi, my name's Emily. I've had chronic fatigue syndrome and related illnesses for 10 years. I was 15 when I first got sick. It was a really daunting experience and quite isolating. Before I got sick, I had dreams of becoming a psychologist. I'm still working really hard to get towards those goals, but it's becoming extremely challenging. I'm currently housebound and unable to study and have been for the last year.
Hi, I'm Rita. I got glandular fever when I was 18 and I've been sick with chronic fatigue, ME, for 6 years now. I just moved to Canberra to study medical science on a sponsorship at the Australian National University. I got like a flu-like virus, and one day I collapsed in a hallway and I went blind and deaf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember screaming, but I couldn't hear myself scream. And that's how it started.
Well, hi, I'm Amy. I have chronic fatigue, myalgic encephalomyelitis, FMS, all sorts of things. And I got sick when I was 13. It was March the 2nd, 2007. I was at the Clipsal with my dad, and I fell on the floor and fell asleep, and that was it. And it just spiralled from that. My official diagnosis happened in August, 6 months after, and it's not fun. I don't recommend it.
So I'm Rachel and I have a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome. I started developing that when I was 23, about 3 years ago. At first I began to notice at work that I was having a lot of cognitive difficulties. I was having trouble with my memory, having a lot of concentration issues on the computer screen, that kind of thing. And gradually over about 6 months, it got worse and worse, and fatigue started to come in, and I couldn't remember sometimes the sentence that I'd said before, and that continued to deteriorate for about 6 months, and then I eventually had to stop work because fatigue was so bad. Sure, so I'm Kirsty. I'm 28, and I first developed chronic pain about 2.5 years ago, and after obviously a lot of tests and ruling out a lot of conditions, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia about 1.5 to 2 years ago.
My name is Ellen, and I have been diagnosed with multiple chronic conditions, 2 of those being chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. And I've been sick for quite a long time, since I was about 14. And I also have some other autoimmune diseases, including rheumatoid arthritis and some other things. Besides that, I'm a PhD student in sociology, and I do that part-time. I have a dog, and I live with my partner and my mum.
Okay, well hi, I'm Gypsy. I'm 30 and I have chronic fatigue syndrome, which I've had since I was about 19. I'm also doing a PhD part-time and living with my mum and my lovely dog Denver. The lack of understanding about these conditions in the medical profession results in many people having their symptoms dismissed by doctors.
How do doctors treat something that they don't understand themselves, or that they're not actually educated about throughout their study?
Recently, like within the last year, 2 things that have been said to me were, you'll grow out of it, and maybe you should just wait and see if it gets better. After 10 years of being sick, that was ridiculous and extremely insulting.
Because they're basically implying there's nothing wrong with you and that you just want drugs, when actually I really don't enjoy being on painkillers. They're horrible.
I got diagnosed with a UTI.
Really?
I said to the doctor, have you ever had a UTI? It's not a UTI.
I was in hospital having renal colic because of kidney stones, and I was told I was having a panic attack.
Oh yeah.
Calm down, you're having a panic attack.
I'm just pulling my hair out going, of course I have anxiety. You're not listening to a thing I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think stress and anxiety and the psychological somatic type issues are
dealt or we're thrown those cards a lot. I think maybe because it's easier and a lot of them don't really know what's going on, and we're probably in a too hard basket.
For me, I went as a first point of call to my GP that I'd been seeing over the last few years, and he said to me that it's depression.
Yeah.
You might not, I was saying that, I wasn't sad, I wasn't upset, I wasn't anything like that. My brain just wasn't working. And he's like, oh no, you're depression, you're just too stressed.
Yeah.
But I just knew something else wasn't quite right.
I've had trouble with depression prior to this chronic fatigue syndrome. For a long time, the doctors and the psychologists were saying, oh no, you're just depressed, it's just depression. Depression causes low energy, depression causes trouble sleeping, depression causes gut issues. And that's all true, but I knew that what I was feeling was different to how I was feeling with depression.
Been told by very top level that I had conversion disorder, which is serious psychological issues then leading or causing fibromyalgia.
I think my most common misdiagnosis was just being told that I was healthy. Like, I really struggled to get diagnosed with anything, basically. And the other thing with the chronic fatigue syndrome is once I did get a diagnosis, well, there wasn't actually anything that the doctors could do. Like, I wasn't put on any medication, I didn't particularly have a treatment plan. It was just like, oh yeah, okay, you do have chronic fatigue syndrome. Good luck with that.
I couldn't write, and I was very much having trouble speaking, breathing, walking.
Yeah.
Everything was very difficult, and it wasn't taken seriously, and it's terrifying that you can't speak and you're hysterical to the doctors, because there's no way you can advocate for yourself in that situation. When I was so sick, I couldn't possibly have advocated for myself. I needed support, and I wasn't given any.
9 out of 10 people who have fibromyalgia are female. Likewise, 7 out of 10 people who have ME/CFS are female. Historically, when a condition mainly affects women, it is more readily dismissed, and it's often labelled as hysteria.
Yeah, I definitely think being a woman is part of it. I think that my pain gets disregarded.
You find a lot of women are affected with chronic pain. I think it was about 85% statistically. And when that is known, a lot of specialists, especially male specialists and GPs, I find go for a psychological anxiety, stress, distress diagnosis, hysteria. So I personally think the emotional card is thrown at us, possibly because we're women.
I've been treated as hysterical frequently, many times, yeah.
But there are studies that now show that women's sort of physical pain and symptoms are dismissed more readily than men. Women have to wait longer in emergency for pain relief medications.
Yes, and I've been treated so poorly in hospital, just basically put off to the side and ignored until things got really bad. Like, I have been in the hospital with a kidney infection, and I knew I had a kidney infection, and I told them that, and they just ignored me. I was asked if I was on my period.
There's the assumption that women are weaker and have a lower pain tolerance.
Yes,
yeah,
and I honestly think I have the highest pain tolerance of anyone I know.
Yeah. And that we're more emotional, so which all ties into the history of hysteria. And
yes, and if you cry, it's all over then if you cry.
Running a marathon on a tightrope with a hangover, blindfolded, and carrying 50 pounds on each arm.
I had a relapse in 2014 that was the worst I'd ever had, and I honestly thought it was going to kill me. I lost the ability to walk, really. I couldn't get out of bed, and everything I did was such an effort. Yeah, I felt like I was in a delirium. Yeah, my ears were ringing, and my vision went, and all I could see was kind of like this tiny speck.
Like a pinhole.
Yeah, like a pinhole at the end of my vision, and I remember like crawling down the hallway because I couldn't get up. Yeah, it was really horrible.
yeah, you do worry because you're lying there and you're thinking, when's it going to end? When, you know, am I going to be able to get up and feed myself? And the nausea is so bad as well that, you know, it's not just a matter of like getting the food. It's a matter of like if there was food placed in front of me, I don't even think I could eat it.
It's days where it's so bad, you can't turn over in a bed, you can't eat, you can't drink, you can't think, you can't speak. You're struggling for even the basest human functions of breathing. That is too much on the really bad days.
Oh, yeah, I've had trouble breathing, and that's probably
That
one of
is
the hardest
so
things.
much effort. People don't understand how much effort is breathing. It's just that it
Yeah.
just doesn't get me. When you don't see me when I'm bad because I'm in a bed and I can't think. That's why you don't see it as at a worst. Brushing your teeth is an exercise. Getting out of bed is an exercise. Changing your clothes is a treat.
Oh, changing your clothes is just...
Yeah. No one else knows what it's like to need to take a rest
Breaks.
after having a shower.
Yep.
People take for granted being able to have a shower. That is something that I absolutely dread. People don't understand the amount of work that has to go into it. You have to have clothes ready, so you have to have all that stuff together. You have to be able to get undressed by yourself, get into the shower and scrub your body. Now, for a normal person, that's easy, you just bend down. But if someone has POTS or hypertension, they bend down, we black out. There is...
Yeah, I just don't bend down. I just like
So
hope
you
the water
can't
does
clean
the-
your body properly. Yeah. This is just showering. This isn't showering and washing your hair. That's a different thing. That you have to have... I have to have a chair in the shower to do that because it's so much standing, so much moving. Holding my arms up for that long is just... It's agonising, but it's also... I can just feel my muscles with no energy, and so it's a pure half-assed job doing it, quite frankly, and that's why I wear these. It sort of covers up all the sins.
Every day you wake up, you don't feel refreshed from your sleep at all. It's not a matter of whether you feel okay or don't feel okay, it's a matter of how bad each symptom is and how much each symptom is going to limit you that day.
There's a really big difference between a good day for me and a bad day.
Yep.
On a good day, I can go to work, get up in the morning, and I can get through a 5-hour day at work with
good.
a half an hour break and go home and rest and
Yep.
be able to make dinner,
Yep.
and that's my day. But on a bad day,
Yep.
I can't get out of bed in the morning. On a
Yep.
bad day, I can't. It's really difficult to be able to lift a mug of tea. It's really difficult to walk to the car, let alone remain like concentrating on a road
Yeah.
to go anywhere. I can't walk into the supermarket
Absolutely.
because it's just so overstimulating.
Yeah.
And on a bad day, or even on a medium day, if I've had a long day, I can't sit in a room with bright lights. I can't be in a room with loud noises or even normal sized noises. I always have to get my partner to turn the TV down.
Yeah.
And on my very worst days, it's a dark room, can't have a TV, can't have any music, no sounds, no strong smells, no nothing. It's just me in a dark room because that's all that I can manage in that day. Yeah, about a year ago I was in a wheelchair at times. I rarely left the house, and when I did I was in a wheelchair because it was just too exhausting to walk more than just to the car. My exercise was walking to my letterbox and back once a day. That was my exercise. That was prescribed by my exercise physio, and that was outside of my capacity some days. Probably 2 car lengths outside my front door. But
It's very evident that people see you as being healthier than you are.
Oh,
Back to
yeah.
your point of people don't really see you when you're really unwell. People don't.
We're away, we're
spend, like,
hidden.
a week in bed, and then you get up and you go out, and people are like, oh, you're fine, and then like 2 days later you're spending another week in bed.
Having a chronic illness is not just about experiencing difficult physical symptoms. It is also about managing difficult mental and emotional effects, as well as the impact that chronic illness has on your identity. It's really exhausting living with a chronic illness, and not just physically exhausting, but it's mentally trying to manage it as well, and managing the physical symptoms as well as the mental symptoms. I can already feel my brain starting to get tired and words aren't coming as clearly. Even though I've had it for 11 years now, and I think I managed my condition quite well, and it still gets really frustrating, and I still have to deal with disappointment and and a sense of grief and loss and frustration.
Yeah, it does feel very lonely, and it's alienating from your peers who are going through the same thing, because they can never fully understand what you're going through.
I think for me, becoming unwell when I was so young, so I was 23, and I know others have become unwell much younger than that. I felt like I slept away several of the, what people say the best years of your life, your early 20s, and while my friends were busy out having fun and enjoying their lives and advancing their careers and
traveling.
I mean the fun
sorts.
things and
The fun and
but also
the
things,
goals.
And getting married and starting families, and I'm just like, if I have energy, I might be able to place an online order for the groceries today.
I felt at times, even in the past 6 months, I'd lost quite a lot of my identity, and sort of had to rebuild in forming a new self. Although there's acceptance, there's the anxiety about, will I be able to do this in the future? Can I get back to this sort of stability of income or permanency in a job, or
will I ever be able to live
family
independently?
That's right, the independence. I think loss of independence is quite key.
Because I was so young, because I was only 14, that's really like when you start figuring out who you are and sort of, forming your identity. And so mine was all formed around being sick, being needy, being sort of very reliant on my mother. It took me well into my 20s to start to feel actually independent. It's identity consuming, being sick.
It's hard not to define yourself with it, but I would say it's life altering, without a doubt.
Definitely.
And I think it's not just the physical pain that we have to go through. There's also the emotional side, which is probably the hardest. So I think combined, your physical, financial burden and the anxiety, constant fear of worry about the future, are pretty intense to say the least.
The constant adaptations you have to make to your life in every aspect of it, learning to let go of the life that you thought you were going to have, guilt of having to rely on other people and the hurt that you're causing them by being ill and them having to see that, and the loss of independence is really hard.
Minute by minute, day by day, hour by hour, you can't think ahead. It hurts too much.
I would agree with that entirely. Yeah, I was a very organised person, and I couldn't stand not to be organised, and now I'm very disorganised because there's no way to be organised once you have chronic fatigue. You can't see the future, and you don't know what the next minute's going to hold, really.
And it hurts. It hurts your soul to have people ask you, well, what are you doing this weekend? I don't know. I don't know what my body's going to do to me.
You have to do things so much slower. You're always pacing, having to structure in rest times, rest before you do something and then you rest after you do something. You're having to think about, how much energy a particular activity is going to take, kind of structure your day sort of accordingly and trying to structure around, what are your better times. And
I can feel right now, my body is telling me to stop, sit down, relax, stop doing this, it's too much for me, I'm overstimulated. I can feel my brain swelling, I can feel my spinal cord swelling, I'm getting sweaty, I'm going to start shaking soon. If I don't stop, I'll probably start vomiting.
the lack of understanding about these conditions, plus the negative stereotyping, combined with the invisibility of the symptoms, and the belief that young people are fit, healthy and energetic, all increases the stigma that we face.
There's a lot of stigma with invisible illnesses, mainly because people don't understand what they can't see. because of that, it can be difficult to use mobility aids and things like that. And I'm still learning to accept that I might get looked at funny, because it's strange to see a person who looks healthy using a mobility aid.
I would say personally that even though the symptoms are like horrible and debilitating, the really, really debilitating thing is the response that you get from people. It's the judgment of individuals and also a lack of understanding from health professionals, no government support. It's not just a lack of understanding, it's like a problematic stereotype, you know, like you're just tired, you just need a nap.
You're so lazy. Why don't you get up and do something? Look at you, you're well, you can walk. No, I can't.
Yeah, actually, I went into many doctors' offices so sick that by the time I got in, I was like, I need to lie down on your bed. And, you know, I would say, there's all these things wrong with me. I have 50 symptoms, maybe 51. And they would still tell me, no, you look fine, everything's fine. Crazy. And that's a terrifying thing to hear when you're debilitated.
Is it all in my head? Am I going crazy? And your body's giving you all this information and they're saying, no, you're fine.
And also all the tests come back normal, and that's another aspect of invisibility.
Oh, you're just tired. You know, if we get you on the right regime of diet and supplements and medications, then you'll get better. And then, oh, well, you're not getting better. You're not improving as you should, you know, as we expect you to. Therefore, you must be doing something wrong, you know. You're not trying hard enough.
There are a lot of doctors out there who won't put their own ego aside to say that they don't know enough about chronic fatigue, and there's doctors out there or healthcare professionals who look at it as a business opportunity and take advantage of the fact that people are vulnerable and desperate to get better.
I had doctors that have literally scolded me for coming and asking for my regular medications, and that, you know, because they don't like prescribing opioids, even though this is something that I was put on when I was 14 years old without any consultation, without any discussion of the future risks, without any kind of plan going into the future. I was just chucked on these drugs, and then I get to a certain age and suddenly people start getting nervous about it and, you know, sort of treating me basically like a drug seeker.
Well, when I'm in my wheelchair, for example, everyone does everything for me. People will open doors, people will, you know, stop so I can get pushed across the road. People will, you know, make way for me in lines. It's really, I feel like really valid in being unwell. Absolutely. But without it, you know, no one's ever going to get up and offer me a seat on the bus. No one's going to, you know, offer me a seat in the waiting line or anything like that. Because you can't see that we're unwell.
I look young, I look healthy, you know, I'm slim, so people just look at me and make all these assumptions that I'm full of energy and that I'm full of health, and I'm not.
In some ways, having an invisible disability privileges you in society in some ways, but then in other ways it disadvantages you because there's all these expectations that you don't meet, and it just doesn't make sense to people from the outside looking in, that pressure to be a productive citizen instead of just being on the pension. Yeah, it's a very awkward place to be, especially when there is so much disdain for people on benefits.
Because of the negative stereotyping and the lack of legitimacy, you find yourself constantly encountering unhelpful advice on what will cure you, in a way that people with a more recognised and understood condition would not.
Exercise. Oh, that's I get that so much. Go do yoga, you'll feel so much more better and centred. Or go for a walk. Exercise for me is able to go to the bathroom and brush my teeth. That's a really good day.
Standing up in the shower sometimes.
That's my aerobics.
They'll say things like exercise. That'll help you, which is very frustrating to hear when you're so exhausted and everything hurts, and the last thing you can imagine is doing exercise.
One that I seemed to get a lot was that it was all about my attitude, you know, that I just needed to have a more positive attitude, and that, you know, then things would get better. And, you know, if I just went out more and socialised more and tried a bit harder and stopped feeling sorry for myself.
When people say you should get out more or you should just socialise more, that's completely unhelpful to me, and they don't realise how much effort I put into socialising on a daily basis.
Gluten-free diet was recommended by everyone.
A lot of well-meaning people have told me over the years that I just need to start eating meat again. And that would help, and that would fix all of my problems. Wow.
We believe you.
It's horribly real.
Always take one day at a time. Don't look too far in advance. Listen to your body and what it's telling you. Don't push through. Whatever you do, don't push through. If it's telling you to stop, stop. That's my greatest regret, is I didn't always listen to my body.
Focus on day by day, but even less than that, hour by hour. What do I need in this hour to get through?
Yep.
And there is so much in life that we think we need, but we think we need to do, or other people say we need to do, are outside of your capacity. So just doing what you need to do in that moment, even not even in that hour, and just learning to be present in that moment was really important for me to learn how to do. And really helped me through some of the most difficult times of my life thus far, really.
Don't listen to the outsiders that are telling you you're crazy. You know in your body if something is wrong. Fight for your diagnosis.
You have to be quite clear on your limit. You need to first know your limits.
Yeah.
Communicate that to others, colleagues, friends, family, and unfortunately you prepare for the flare.
Everybody relies on other people for help.
Yeah.
Nobody does everything on their own.
No.
Nobody's completely independent. Nobody has no help whatsoever from anyone.
I try to remind myself of how I feel when I've got a sick friend. You know, do I think that they're a burden?
Yeah, that's true.
Or am I just happy to help them?
Yeah, also really important for me was to find a sense of community and understanding. So I was able to find that through a small Facebook group online. There's about 15 of us who, from all around the world, we all have CFS, ME, and whilst coming from really different backgrounds, all have a really good understanding of each other and where each other's at. And so we check in with each other every day, and we could vent if we needed to vent, but we also began a thing, you know, celebrating the little wins, we called it.
The little victories.
The little victories.
There are really brilliant Facebook support groups from all over the world, and I found that has also probably made the most difference in feeling connected, in sharing tips, in being able to vent in a trusted environment without judgment.
Yeah. I think the internet can be quite helpful for connecting people. And, you know, like just the excitement of meeting somebody that's on the same medication as me. Like, it seems so silly, but it does make you feel like less alone.
For me, I've really had to work hard on mindset and try to define yourself by the strength that it's given you, and try not to let yourself feel diminished by it. You know, it is there, it's taken away a lot, you know, there's no doubt about that. But I think what it can also give you is quite unique, and I wouldn't trade that in for the world, to be honest, even with the struggle of the pain.
That you're still valuable even if you're not productive in the sort of mainstream sense. You still, you know, you still do matter.
Yeah, and you're important to people.
Yeah. And you can still be part of a community.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people say, get well soon, or I hope you feel better. Yeah. You know, and it's just like a standard thing that everybody says. And you know, they mean it. Yeah. But it's sort of like, I'm never gonna get better. Yeah. This is it. I mean,
this is something that I'm gonna have to manage for the rest of my life, and I'm able to accept that. But it seems like other people seem to have more trouble accepting that on my behalf, or feel like that by me accepting my illness and that it's chronic, that somehow is taken as giving up.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, it's actually been really empowering.
I think accepting that you're unwell is important, because if you're when you're waiting to get better and it doesn't happen, it's just going to be constantly disappointing.
Yeah.
I think we need to wholly and sort of fully accept how hard the illness is, if it's CFS or ME or fibro, and really feel that, and allow yourself to get angry and feel the emotions and the sadness and grief.
Find a doctor or a medical professional who's on your side, because it's really important.
Yes. Yeah.
And advocate for yourself. It's really hard to advocate for yourself, but it's also really important. Yeah.
I think having someone else in the appointment, especially if I'm going to a doctor that I don't know, having someone else sitting there so that they can witness the interaction, and maybe it will make the doctor treat you a little bit differently, because I think when you're one-on-one with a doctor in a room together, they have a lot of power over you.
I think it's very important, if you feel as if you're not listened to as a patient, to go and get a second opinion. It's not
Or a
doctor,
third.
or a
Or a
third.
fourth.
It's not doctor shopping. It's advocating for yourself.
There are people that have lived through the same kind of thing you're going through and have gotten, I guess, through to the other side, or they've figured out how to deal with it.
There's a lot of people with this illness, and you'll find support if you need it.
Just hang in there. It's tough. It's really tough. Don't feel ashamed about speaking about it. Chances are you probably will inspire someone someday through your story.
If you have ME, CFS or fibro or a similar condition, know that you are not alone. We know that your struggle is real, and we hope that watching this will provide you with validation, strength and hope. For the rest of you watching, we thank you for taking the time to learn about these debilitating conditions, and we hope that by sharing our stories we have challenged unhelpful stereotypes and inspired some meaningful dialogue.